going to begin by reading a Robert Hayden poem. When Worcester decided to do the blue evening with lights and poetry, I thought of this poem, which has blue in it as well. It's called Those Winter Sundays. Sundays, too, my father got up early and put his clothes on in the blue-black cold. Then, with cracked hands that ached from labor in the weekday weather, made banked fires blaze. No one ever thanked him. I'd wake and hear the cold splintering, breaking. When the rooms were warm, he'd call, and slowly I would rise and dress, fearing the chronic angers of that house. Speaking indifferently to him who had driven out the cold and polished my good shoes as well. What did I know? What did I know of love's austere and lonely offices? And then I'll read a poem I'm working on from the events, the virus that's going around. It's called, playing a little off Gabriel Garcia Marquez's Love in the Time of Corona. Through the glass, in the cold March breeze, a neighbor's worn flag flaps. Distance, like the bare branches of white pine against blue sky, marks this corona, this silver ring with dark heart. Loneliness is such, I have learned to look into the lens, that eye of defamation, in the time before space made me miss the warm breath of another. Somewhere, a dog sighs on a couch. She has known all her days this day would come. Sit with her. She is ready, willing, will rest her head on your lap and speak with you in silence. Thank you, thank you. And now I'd like to turn the forum over to Joe Fusco. Joe?
I just lost the whole thing.
You lost your poem?
No, I just lost everybody just now for some reason.
Well, we have you.
We have you, yeah.
You're here.
So you may not be able to see us, but we can see you and we can hear you.
Okay. This is a Tony Hoagland poem. It's called Candlelight. Crossing the porch in the hazy dusk to worship the moon rising like a yellow filling station sign on the black horizon, you feel the faint grunt of ants beneath your shoes, but keep on walking because in this world, you have to decide what you're willing to kill. Saving your marriage might mean dinner for two by candlelight on steak raised on pasture, chopped out of rainforest, whose absence might mean an atmospheric thinness 50 years from now above the vulnerable head of your bald grandson on vacation as the cells of his scalp, sauteed by solar radiation, break down like suspects under questioning. Still, you slice the sirloin into pieces and feed each other on silver forks under the approving gaze of a waiter whose purchased attention and French name are a kind of candle lit themselves, while in the background the fingertips of the pianist float over the tusks of the slaughtered elephant without a care, as if the elephant had granted its permission. That's Tony Hoagland.
Great poem, great poem.
Hello?
Oh, okay. And you have one of your own you'd like to share?
Sure. I visited my immediate family at Notre Dame Cemetery this past weekend, and I wrote this a few years back. It's called Grave Encounters. On a crisp fall afternoon, I walked in the cemetery with my family. First up, Bobby, my younger and only sibling, gone 10 years now. He thought it was a good idea to mix prescription medications like a mad chemist. It wasn't. "Hi, Bob," I mutter as I wipe bird poop off his headstone. "It's not always about you, Joe," I remember him telling me during the heat of a family squabble. Well, now, Bob, it is. Next up, Dad, almost gone for 10 years, 2 months after Bobby, his already fragile heart broken by the demise of his youngest son. Dad was a great businessman, a generous friend, an absent father, and a lousy husband. I am his namesake, but we hardly knew each other until it was almost too late. "I'm tired of the grocery business, Dad," I mutter as I wipe bird poop off his headstone. "Suck it up, Buttercup," I picture him responding. And finally, my mom, gone this past March, the grass still growing over her $2,500 coffin. Mom was my muse, my emotional barometer, my most ardent supporter. She lived with my wife and I for 16 years before slipping into ill health and dementia. "I miss you, Mom," I sigh. "How about a nice cup of tea, son?" her response when things were troublesome. There is no bird poop on her headstone. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Susan Roney O'Brien, would you like to share some poetry with us, please?
I'm trying to get nice and close because my computer is very quiet. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Barely.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
The first poem I'm reading is the John Ashbery poem called Paradoxes and Oxymorons. This poem is concerned with language on a very plain level. Look at it talking to you. You look out a window or pretend to fidget. You have it, but you don't have it. You miss it, it misses you. You miss each other. The poem is sad because it wants to be yours and cannot. What's the plain level? It is that and other things, bringing a system of them into play. Play? Well, actually, yes, but I consider play to be a deeper outside thing, a dreamed role pattern, as in the division of grace these long August days, without proof, open-ended. And before you know, it gets lost in the street steam and chatter of typewriters. It has been played once more. I think you exist only to tease me into doing it on your level, and then you aren't there, or have adopted a different attitude. And the poem has set me softly down beside you. The poem is you. Okay.
Thank you, Susan. And your own?
This is a very new one, of course. So I always remember. What are you thinking, sleep? That I don't see you in the corner, cocooned in gray silk, ballet slippers on your feet, and that handy dandy, soft as a sheep's ear bag of dreams, beaming moonlight from its sleek silver ties, like the supreme screwed soul between doo-wop and R&B. Do you think I don't get it? That you'll, quick as a wink, untie the strings and dump what dust you stored inside all over me, gum up my eyes, hush my brain, immobilize my legs, and I won't mind? Forget about it. I've dug in. Chocolate at 10, French roast after 3. I'm the night queen. I know all. I've seen enough to keep you chrysalis stuck in the gray-green pupa, never winging out on white moth wings, never flitting by or getting through the wire screen in front of all the lit candles. Imagine crinoline and porcupine quills spiking my skin, plastic rollers the size of frozen juice tins striating my skull, the root full. I'm armored and chain-mailed, snug and smug as sin. One pirouette toward my pillow and I'll bang my iron will against glimmering rods on the bed I lie in. You think you'll win just by waiting? Think again. I blocked myself in. You thanatos wannabe. You won't still my exhausted limbs by slipping, curling between chest and chin. Hold on. Stop bobbing and weaving. Give me a minute to rest my eyes. You can't. Come in.
Thank you, Susan. Thank you. Okay. Therese Carr will be next, but before we move on, I wanted to remind you that this is the first one of our April readings, but we have a second one. I think is it April 18th or April? I'll let Therese speak to it because you're
And
here
I
with
will-
Juan Matos, and Rina
Oh,
Espali.
that's going to be April 25th
April
at
20th.
7 p.m. And it's co-hosted by Bedlam Books and Worcester County Poetry Association. It's going to be Juan Matos and Rina Espailat. It's going to be a bilingual reading in English and Spanish. And we're just thrilled to have the opportunity to host these two amazing poets and to have a reading in both languages. So please join us. It should be a wonderful evening. It will not be an open mic because we have two features, but there will be ample time for a discussion and questions and that sort of thing.
Great, thank you, Therese. So that's April 25th. I want to welcome Erin Williams of the Worcester Cultural Commission. Hi, Erin, thanks for joining us. And Bob, do you know the date of the other reading? I think it's Robert Steele. Oh, maybe Robert can. Robert, I think you got one.
Can you hear me, Roger?
Yes. Well, now you just muted yourself.
All right. Yeah. All right. Okay. All right. I don't know if there's going to be what is it? I can't think of the name now.
Free People's Workshop.
Free People's Workshop. Right. I don't know because I haven't heard from Sid Solomon.
Okay.
But I will get in touch with him. That would be the 27th if there is, but it's mostly visual artists.
All right. So you may want to just keep your eyes and ears open for that.
Right. I will.
Okay. Well, let's now we'll move on to Therese Carr to share her poems with us. Therese.
Thank you. So I'm going to share, this is Theodore Rutke, and it's In a Dark Time, because I think obviously we're in a dark time. In a dark time. In a dark time, the eye begins to see. I meet my shadow in the deepening shade. I hear my echo in the echoing wood, a lord of nature weeping to a tree. I live between the heron and the wren, beast of the hill and serpents of the den. What's madness but nobility of soul at odds with circumstance? The day's on fire. I know the purity of pure despair, my shadow pinned against a sweating wall. That place among the rocks, is it a cave or winding path? The edge is what I have. A steady storm of correspondences, a night flowing with birds, a ragged moon, and in broad day the midnight come again. A man goes far to find out what he is. Death of the self in a long, tearless night. All natural shapes blazing unnatural light. Dark, dark my light, and darker my desire. My soul, like some heat-maddened summer fly, keeps buzzing at the sill. Which eye is I? A fallen man, I climb out of my fear. The mind enters itself, and God the mind. And one is one, free in the tearing wind. That's Rutke. And this is one of my own that's new and still in progress. It's called Angel Oak, and it's after the live oaks in coastal Carolinas and other parts of the Southeast. We have oaks here, obviously in New England, but these live oaks are, some of them are 1,000 years old. Angel Oak. Oh, great tree, teach me how to live, how to bear 1,000 days and nights, how to witness and survive. What your hollow eyes have seen, how heavy your twisted limbs outstretched in torturous pursuit of heaven, how sinewy your roots binding you to the ground, how gracious your massive branch resting on the earth, genteel as a proffered arm, humble as a knee bent in genuflection, your head bowed, your face veiled by a mantilla of Spanish moss. Oh, monument, how tough your gnarl, corrugated bark stippled with gray barnacles, protection for woody bones, ancient marrow, spirits sheltering in your secret crannies. Tree of beauty and pain, tree of shade and shadow, shake out your leafy mane, your glossy lacquered curls, and bless me with flecks of dappled yellow. Oh, angel oak, I long to throw my arms around your waist, to rest my cheek against your scabbed trunk, your gorgeous magenta heart. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, Therese. I have a question. When I went to speaker view, did you all see just Therese on your screen?
Yes.
All right. This is a learning curve.
Yes.
So I will remember whoever is reading then, I will go to speaker view so we get a full profile of them. So,
You know, I think, Roger, that if we ourselves go to speaker view, you can also control that if you click speaker view or gallery view in the top right-hand corner.
okay, but that's, I mean, it's also good as host if I can remember to do that.
For sure.
Then we don't have to do that.
Yeah, I'm not
So,
sure if it matters, Roger. I think that it's really controlled by the person who's viewing rather than on your end.
Really? So not everybody went to speaker view?
Correct.
No. Oh, okay. All right. Well, we'll try. You can, if you hit speaker view, then the speaker will fill up most of your screen and we'll all be arranged around it. So that kind of makes it a little more intimate. Okay. Well, our next poet is from Los Angeles, coming all the way from the West Coast. His name is Bill Ratner. And so I want to please welcome Bill to Worcester, Massachusetts, and New England. So Bill, if you would like to share, well, that.
Yep, Roger, thank you. And Therese, thank you. I'm in Los Angeles, but for 15 summers, my wife and I came to Hillsborough, New Hampshire, working the Theater Fest at Camp Interlaken. And so that's, and I found you guys on the web, so I appreciate your doing this. I'm going to read my poem and then a dream song by John Barrowman. My poem takes place in the location where the Laurel and Hardy movie, where Laurel and Hardy were attempting to push a piano up a long set of stairs and it kept rolling back. That's the neighborhood I live. This is called Walk in Place. I live in a neighborhood with hidden stairways. I've been walking a lot. I suppose I should feel proud. I lost 6 pounds. Turns out fear is a weight loss aid. I attended a virtual cocktail party. Saw friends in 2 dimensions. Pixels of advice and speculation. Every century humankind must cleanse itself. The city has an unusual hush. The sun has set. There's a waxing crescent moon. I walk up steps, past neighbors' locked porches, windows cranked shut, doors they wish were more private. Faces disappear behind hedges. Backyards smell of clothes dryer exhaust. Underthings are draped over twine. As I walk, I announce myself. Lights flick on when I pass. Some people say hello. Others stare straight ahead. I shouldn't take it personally. Earlier, the masked postwoman talked to me. Her union is agitating for hazard pay. I was learning how it is to be close to people. We now keep a safe distance. Coughs and sneezes are virulent. I wonder about breath itself. Living is now a cottage industry. And this is Dream Song number 1 by John Barrowman. Huffy Henry hid the day. Unappeasable, Henry sulked. I see his point, trying to put things over. It was the thought that they thought they could do it made Henry wicked and away. But he should have come out and talked. Oh, the world like a woolen lover once did seem on Henry's side. Then came a departure. Thereafter nothing fell out as it might or ought. I don't see how Henry, pried open for all the world to see, survived. What he has now to say is a long wonder the world can bear and be. Once in a sycamore I was glad, all at the top, and I sang. Hard on the land wears the strong sea, and empty grows every bed.
Nice, thank you, very. Okay, wonderful. All right, our next speaker comes from New Hampshire as well. So there's a good New Hampshire contingent here between Bill, myself, and Denny Caldwell. So Denny, if you would like to unmute yourself and share your poem and another person's poem.
Sure. Thanks very much, Roger, and thanks everybody for facilitating this. You hear me okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
I have a poem here to read from an author. Her name is Naomi Shihab Nye. This is from her collection, 19 Varieties of Gazelle. She is an Arab American, and I found a piece here that I thought I wanted to share with you this afternoon. The title of it is Prayer in My Boot. For the wind no one expected, for the boy who does not know the answer, for the graceful handle I found in a field attached to nothing, pray it is universally applicable. For our tracks which disappear the moment we leave them. For the face peering through the cafe window as we sip our soup. For cheerful American classrooms sparkling with crisp colored alphabets, happy cat posters, the cage of the guinea pig, the dog with division flying out of its tail, and the classrooms of our cousins on the other side of the earth, how solemn they are, how gray or green or plain, how there is nothing dangling, nothing striped or polka dotted or cheery, no self-portraits or visions of cupids. And in these rooms, the students raise their hands and learn the stories of the world. For library books in alphabetical order and family businesses that failed, and the house with the boarded windows and the gap in the middle of a sentence and the envelope we keep mailing ourselves. for every hopeful morning given, and every future rough edge, and every afternoon turning over in its sleep.
Ah, nice.
The title of the poem again was Prayer in My Boot. I have one that's of my own here that's been in progress. I once had a job doing home inspections of abandoned houses. And this is what I've been working on in memory of that experience, and in memory of the houses that I looked at. Empty house. My car creeps down the littered street, its tires crushing debris on the pavement. I stop in front of number 220, drawing the attention of two snarling German shepherds in the yard across the street. They leap, straining against their chains, and their keeper peeks at me from inside, from around a closed curtain. 220 is a small house on a quarter-acre lot, abandoned, lawn overgrown, peeled paint, realtor's sign askew in the weeds, pirated TV cable strung through the broken front door window, growing out of the chimney. I check my paperwork to make sure I am at the correct address and write the lockbox combination in ink on my hand. I check my bag of inspection tools, exit the car, and click its door lock with a honk. Then once more, in case those who are watching did not hear it the first time. I nod to the person peeking from across the street, look all around, and step away from my car. I thought of the pistol I once carried as a soldier and then vowed never to carry again. Now on this street, for a moment, I wish for it. I can see about 20 houses from where I stand. Half are abandoned, many for sale or at auction. I walk around the house at a distance looking for evidence of occupants, though it should be empty. I look at doors and windows all around for being secured, for sometimes I find a window or two unlocked, doors shut but unlatched, evidence that a place is used for brief purposes or a temporary residence. On the battered front door, upon which official notices and keep out signs are pasted, ghost images of cheap stick-on letters remain, spelling an old soldier's rank and name. Expecting no reply, I knock, call out, "Hello," and wait a few seconds. The dogs across the street answer with more barking. I unlock the door, shout again, look and wait. A dying smoke detector chirps from somewhere, begging for a battery. I find a pile of inspector sign-in sheets in the kitchen and add my name to the most recent list. I walk through each room and down into the basement, take photographs and scribble on the inspection sheet. Side door locks, but will not stay latched. Pile of clothing, trash in tub and floor of bathroom. Copper pipes in the basement are missing, sawed off. Basement window screen is missing, window ajar. Electric and water service is shut off. Refrigerator door has been left closed. Inside is... I complete the checklist, write pages of notes, and will inform office dwellers 1,000 miles distance who will decide the fate of this abandoned house. They will not know the sound of the dying smoke detector, the remains of hopscotch squares drawn with chalk on the basement floor that endure beyond a daughter's lifetime. or the name on the front door of this small house that in 1950 was the new beginning for a returned soldier and his bride. Fresh neighborhood, hope, a steady job, prosperity and abundance ahead. The war is over. Hopeful, fresh, job, soldier, war again and again. Thank you.
Thank you, Denny. Okay. Our next reader is Claire Golding. I think she's just going to share one poem with us. Claire.
Thank you. Thanks, Roger. This is really wonderful. I've never done anything like this before exactly, so I like it. I'd love to do it again sometime. I thought that I didn't know the procedure, and I thought if there were a lot of people reading, I should keep it short. So I chose a poem from this great book that I loved in college called The Imagist Poem. And this is a poem by T.E. Hume called The Embankment. And it's in parentheses, the subtitle is The Fantasia of a Fallen Gentleman on a Cold, Bitter Night. Once in finesse of fiddles found I ecstasy, in a flash of gold heels on the hard pavement. Now see I that warmth's the very stuff of poesy. O God, make small the old star-eaten blanket of the sky, that I may fold it round me and in comfort lie.
Oh,
It's a lovely one.
thank you.
Words for today.
For that Imagist poem. Wonderful, wonderful.
Thanks.
And I believe our final reader, before we get to the feature, is Robert Steele. So, Robert.
Yeah, can you see
or
me?
it says Carrie. Yes.
Yeah, it says Carrie. We just finished reading this John D. McDonald book, and I love the last paragraph, so I'm going to read the last paragraph.
Okay.
And then I heard the wind-blown January rain move in from the sea and across the beaches and the boat basin and roar softly and steadily down the weathered docks of my houseboat. That's it.
Lovely paragraph.
This is something I finished a couple of weeks ago. It's from the novel. So I'm not going to try to explain anything. I'll just read it. Peggy's no longer sitting on the bus. She stands on the corner in front of the drugstore. My uncle lives just up the street, Mr. Johnny Spare Change. Funny name. Jack doesn't know if he's thinking or saying it because the name Spare Change strikes a bell. He bought that building, she points. But it's much too late for Jack or recognition. The ringing reverberates, sending shockwaves in all directions. The intersection's ecliptic tilts like the spinning teacup ride of Seven Rock. Last year, Peggy explains. Do you know him? I used to work there. Peggy grabs hold of his arm and puts a finger to her lips. Shh, not another word, careful. Again, it's more to himself than her that Jack mutters. She's right. He won't meet Mike until junior high. That summer on State Street doesn't happen for another 5 years. Meanwhile, the class returns from the Great Chimney. The driver grinds the cigarette butt out under his shoe as the boys scramble into the back of the bus. The girls arrange themselves up front with Mrs. Riccardi. Mrs. Riccardi counts heads because she can't find the attendance sheet. After the driver gets into his seat, but before he starts the engine, Peggy asks Jack how often he visits his Aunt Jeanette. The question throws Jack for another loop because his Aunt Jeanette no longer lives in Fairhaven. It's been years since she sold the nursing home and moved out to her place in Stonington. I want to ask you about the dream. It's important. Was it you or somebody else? Careful, she warns him a third time. Important is not always wise. My dad says we might be moving in with my uncle. So that's it. Careful. But Jack can't stop himself now. That's why you never showed up at Bassett after Ivy. You moved, didn't you? By then you were living here. His heel bounced off the stanchion. Curiously, the thought alone didn't please him, so he said it again out loud, and he listened closely to the way the sound took form. Here. The odd thing was not so much in his speaking, but in the way he heard what he just said. The tone was off, perhaps, or maybe it's timbre. For the third time then, Jack attempted to place the word in its context, here. And three's the magic number, so the third time should have fulfilled all the particulars of his mighty demand. Instead, what he heard he didn't recognize at all. To add to the confusion, Jack was quite aware that he used the word all the time, dozens of times a day, with no difficulty, as easy as spitting when you smoke. True, once upon a time, the concept had given him pause. He was sitting on the front porch when he heard his sister yelling to his mother, "I'm here," from somewhere in the house. It struck him. How could he possibly know where she was? The kitchen or the living room, the basement or the backyard? Here doesn't tell you. Here assumes you're already there. But that was on the front porch. That was the concept there. Here on the loading dock, the difficulty was linguistics, like the phonetics of the damn word just trotted out of English. Then it hit him, like the stroke of genius when Newton in London and Leibniz in Dusseldorf simultaneously discovered the calculus. He used the word, he would use the word here, already stripped of its sense and reduced to a sound, as an incantation to summon Peggy. He reconsidered the drugstore, not as necessarily in the light of catching a baseball in 6th grade on third base might mean, but in the earlier promise of the 4th of July, when she surprised him that her Uncle Johnny Spare Change owned the building that Mike's Uncle Andy would rent that summer. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you, Robert. Thank you.